Is in Warsaw with the president. Jeff, certainly a lot on the line for the president and his foreign policy.
Jim, so much on the line for the president, really across the board, from the nuclear threat, of course, in North Korea. But all eyes inside the White House and, in fact, the world are on that meeting on Friday with the president of Russia. Of course, the White House is not yet signaling what the president will say to him. In fact, flying over here just a short time ago, the White House spokeswoman declined to offer any specifics of that meeting at all. And one reason, Jim, his aides still aren't sure what he'll talk to Putin about.
President Trump arriving in Poland tonight for a critical overseas trip, his second since taking office, striking an optimistic tone while leaving the White House today. He's facing rising tensions in Europe and mounting challenges across the world. The most urgent, North Korea's nuclear program. Test of an intercontinental ballistic missile that could be strong enough to strike the U.S.
Together we are facing the threat of the reckless and brutal regime in North Korea. The nuclear and ballistic missile programs of that regime require a determined response.
The North Korean nuclear ambitions are at the top of his agenda for a meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping at the G20 summit later this week in Germany. A friendly relationship only months ago when Mr. Trump hosted his Chinese counterpart at his Mar-a-Lago resort has soured now. The president blames China for not doing enough to apply economic pressure on the North Korean regime. Trade between China and North Korea grew almost 40% in the first quarter. So much for China working with us, but we had to give it a try. 6 weeks after his first trip abroad, the stakes are even higher this time. Mr. Trump is set to come face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin, the first meeting between the two leaders, as relations between the two adversaries are highly fraught. Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. election, at the center of investigations in Washington, has placed a cloud over the Trump White House. It's also complicated the U.S.-Russian relationship that Mr. Trump once suggested could be far stronger than President Obama's frayed alliance with Putin.
If Putin likes Donald Trump, guess what, folks? That's called an asset, not a liability. Now, I don't know that I'm going to get along with Vladimir Putin. I hope I do, but there's a good chance I won't.
At the G20 summit in Hamburg, Germany, the president is also likely to receive a chilly reception from key allies over his decision to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement and his harsh words on NATO. German Chancellor Angela Merkel facing a re-election of her own, not sugarcoating her strong disagreements with Mr. Trump's brand of populism. In an interview published today, she telegraphed the confrontation. Globalization is seen by the American administration more as a process that is not about a win-win situation, but about winners and losers.
Now, back in Warsaw, the White House selected this as the first stop on this trip by design. The president's brand of populism, very similar to the Law and Justice Party here in Poland, so different from Germany and other parts of the EU. Tomorrow here in Square, Jim, there is going to be a major rally for the president. The biggest audience he has seen outside the U.S. We're told thousands of people will be there. In fact, the Polish government assured the White House that they would have big crowds there. In fact, they're bringing people from all over Poland for that meeting. So tomorrow, a warm welcome here. But, Jim, it seems to cool when he heads to Germany tomorrow evening for that G20 summit.
Jeff Zeleny in Warsaw, thanks very much. Joining me now, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Democrat